Hello everybody, welcome into another lesson. So today we are going to do very introductory quadratic equations. Quadratic equations are when you have the power of the variable, the highest power being to the second power. It's also called the degree. The power is also called the degree. It's of the second degree. So how do we solve quadratic equations, second degree equations? Well, you got to take the square root. So you start out, you'll take the square root of x squared. But what you do to one side, you got to do to the other. It's going to be the square root of 4 on the right hand side, but actually it's going to be plus and minus the square root of 4. We're going to get into that more in a minute, why it's both plus and minus the square root of 4. But the square root of x squared, we take the square root of something squared, it's just the variable itself. You'll get x is equal to that plus or minus, what is the square root of 4? It's 2. So x is equal to plus or minus 2, plus minus 2, or you can write it as x is equal to negative 2 and 2. Alright, and I'll show you. I'm going to put these into the original equation. Let's put in negative 2 for x. Negative 2 squared, well, negative 2 squared, that equals 4. So we get a true statement. If we do 2 squared, we also get 4. So both the negative 2 and the 2 squared will give you 4. So, in other words, we have two solutions. Now, we're not going to learn this right now. This isn't until Algebra 2. But in Algebra 2, you're going to learn a theorem called the fundamental theorem of algebra, which teaches you that whatever the degree of your equation is, that's how many solutions you have in the complex number system. The real numbers are part of the complex number system, which we'll get more into that in Algebra 2. But for now, just know that quadratic equations will have two solutions at least. They'll have two solutions. They'll have a positive and a negative solution. For ones such as x squared equals 4. There's other types of quadratic equations we won't cover till Algebra 1, but we are covering the most rudimentary basic ones today. Alright, let's say y squared equals 25. So you got something like y squared equals 25. Well, of course, to get y, you take the square root of y squared. You'll set that equal to plus or minus the square root of 25. So the square root of y squared on the left, that's just y. That'll be equal to, then you have plus or minus whatever the square root of 25 is. Well, that's 5. So y equals plus or minus 5. Or you can also, you can leave it how we have it, or you can write y equals negative 5, comma 5. Either way, the answer is acceptable. And if you plug negative 5 in for y, you'll get 25. If you plug positive 5 in for y, you'll also get 25. So your solutions to this are negative 5 and 5. Alright. Let's say we have r squared equals 2. So we have r squared equals 2. Well, of course, we want to get r. We'll have to take the square root of r squared. We'll set that equal to plus or minus the square root of 2. On the left side, square root of r squared, that just leads to r. That'll equal plus or minus whatever the square root of 2 is. Well, it's not a perfect square, so there's no way to reduce that any further. R would equal plus or minus the square root of 2. That would be your answer. And let's put these in here real quick. Let's say I put in the square root of 2 squared. Well, if you square a square root, you get the number that's inside of the square root symbol. You'll just get 2. And if I take its negative, the negative of the square root of 2, I'll also get the number that's inside the square root. I'll also end up getting 2. So that's how you can check. If you square a square root, you get the number that's inside of the square root. It cancels the square root out whenever you square it. Alright, I think we'll do one more. Let's say h squared is equal to 39. So we got h squared is equal to 39. Well, of course, we want to get h, so we'll take the square root of h squared. We'll set that equal to plus or minus the square root of 39. Well, on the left side, square root of h squared, that's just h. That'll equal plus or minus, well, the square root of 39, that's not a perfect square, so you just be left with the square root of 39. So h is equal to plus or minus the square root of 39. And once again, to demonstrate this, if I put in the square root of 39, and I raise that to the second power, whenever you raise the square root of a number to the second power, it cancels out the square root, and you just get the number that's underneath the square root symbol. So you would just get 39. And if I take negative of that square root, well, a negative squared is a positive, and I would just get the number inside the square root, which would also be 39. So those are ways to check there to make sure you got the right solutions. But so whenever you do a quadratic, you always take the square root of both sides. But for the side that just has the regular number, it's always going to be plus or minus that square root. You're actually going to have two solutions whenever you have these type of quadratic equations. So why did we do this today? Well, this is leading us into Pythagorean theorem and geometry, which this will be a very large unit for the last part of pre-algebra. It's going to span like 3 chapters. So this is leading into something here. So let's see. The next lesson we're going to talk about angles and triangles. So I hope everyone has a good night. Take care.